I do my best to impersonate a reporter is what I say a lot. Coach Kenny, please respond to what I said yesterday.
Thank you, Chad. When I heard the podcast and your statement, it is totally false information.
13 of 23 as Lucas White continues.
That's a big-time player making a big-time play, Darren Lucas White.
And we welcome you to the CSRA Sports Wrap Podcast. I'm Charles McNeil along with Chad Cook, and episode 3 is underway. We have a grand and a fantastic show lined up for you. It's going to be jam-packed with sports like you've never seen before. The region tournaments have crowned their champions in high school basketball, and now we can begin the road to the Final Four. The boys and girls teams from Butler and Cross Creek, they protected their house, and they'll join us in a few minutes as we'll get a chance to talk to the winners who captured those rings. Now, next up, we have all the Georgia matchups for you, as well as the South Carolina high school matchups in state playoffs, which get underway and in some cases already have gotten underway over this weekend. But first, we've got a new football organization that kicked off their campaign in high school baseball for the opener of this podcast. Chad, you were out and about. How did the week go for you?
Well, before the football and the baseball, I want to open with Augusta University's head coach Dip Mitras getting his 500th victory Saturday against Lander. It was a double overtime affair, sent into the first overtime with a step-back three-pointer by Lakeside graduate Deion Berrien over Tyshawn Crawford, Augusta's 7'1" center. Berrien then put it into double overtime with a layup, but the Jaguars prevailed with 29 points from junior guard Tyree Myers, 6 assists, and 19 points and 4 blocks from junior center, who I just mentioned, Tyshawn Crawford. Inspiring basketball from a shorthanded group. That's been the theme of the season, and Dip Mitras got his 500th victory. Now, let's put that into perspective. Last I checked, there are 14 coaches in Division II with more victories than Dip. Well, all of them have been coaching for several more years than Dip has. So the other way you look at things is winning percentage. Well, I think there are 23 active coaches with a better winning percentage than Dip. Well, they've all been doing it fewer years than Dip. So nobody has combined the length, which I think it's at roughly 25 seasons. I should have looked that up before the podcast. Over 2 decades of coaching, a winning percentage that puts him in the elite, a total wins count that puts him in the elite. I posted it last night. He is an elite coach. Nobody that I know knows the game of basketball and how to coach it like Dip does. And nobody that I know looks out for the long-term interests of his players like Dip does. And he's just a class act. People say it all the time. We're lucky to have him here. Now, why are we so lucky to have him here? He takes such good care of our program. That takes me back to Wednesday night. Augusta fell to USC Aiken. We've covered it in length, where 5 players are missing for the entire season with COVID problems. No college basketball team has faced the problems that we have with COVID. And so, we fell by 2 points to our rival Aiken at home. But with all the bad luck that the team has had, and they've had more of it than anybody, the spirit hasn't wavered for 1 second. The guys play like champions. And there's a picture from the Bell Ringer, the student newspaper at Augusta, that encapsulates that. And it shows Timmy Sellers, Glen Hill's graduate, dunking the ball. I want to say it cut the lead to 5 in the second half. And every single Augusta Jaguar face, you can see guys on the bench, on the floor, Darren Lucas White and Tyshawn Crawford screaming with joy. You can see several people on the bench in street clothes, some Troy Cracknell, Miguel Arnold out for the season, starters jumping up and down, screaming. Sean Moss, a senior who is always ready to play when called upon. He is doing literally a split. His feet are around his ears. He's up in the air screaming. The joy on that team, it was for their teammate Timmy Sellers, and in the engagement and shooting for a win was it was inspiring. And so I will leave you, we'll cut to the highlights from that game, and the highlights of Darren Lucas White diving all over the floor, Tyree Myers diving all over the floor. The spirit and the winning attitude that Coach Dip Mitras has cultivated into the culture, into the bones of this program is a wonderful, wonderful thing. Before we cut to the highlights, I'll stress the fact that Augusta is now 7-6, an over 500 record overall, 5-6 in Peach Belt Conference play. 2 games left. Because of the coronavirus, it's a short season. Because of the coronavirus, we won't make the tournament, I don't think, barring a miracle, maybe. But they play like champions, and when they get that full roster back next year, just like we were number 10 in the nation when the roster got decimated, when we get it back next year, watch out for Augusta. So we'll cut to those what I would call inspiring highlights from a loss Wednesday night against Aiken, and then I'll get on to the football and the baseball.
Yeah, we just got finished taking a look at those, and you did a great job of breaking it down as well, Chad. So let's keep it moving into the football universe. And you got a chance to check out a new organization that just got underway.
Yeah, Augusta United is started by a gentleman named Cornell Harris. He's got people around him like a gentleman named Furley Gibson, Chris Moss, several other people. And what it is a postgraduate, and it's not just football to my knowledge. I don't have all the details to really go in depth about the program, but to my knowledge, it's not just football. They're going to add basketball. They're going to have maybe track and field and all kinds of different things. And it's a postgraduate academy. So traditionally, when people graduate from high school and maybe their grades aren't where they need to be to take advantage of the athletic opportunities that they have in college. So they need to get their grades right before they go to college. Or maybe they didn't get the look that they wanted, or for any number of reasons, they aren't ready to go to college. And so that's the role of a postgraduate academy. We've never really had one here. Cornell Harris and this very impressive group of men have brought it here. And my takes on that before I get in depth, because I will get in depth later with a story about the academy and things like that. Cornell Harris and these guys, you and I, we either know or we don't, but I'll tell you who is not in question. And that's the young people in this community for the past basically 2 decades who have played football and basketball. They know these guys, and they know the dedication that they show to putting the players first, putting the young people first, whether it be while they're coaching, assistant coaching high school programs, or running camps, or coaching AAU teams, or picking guys up and taking them home, or getting them something to eat. I mean, these guys take care of the community in a way that is often not seen or publicized, and now they're pulling their efforts and having this postgraduate academy. And one of the things I'm really excited about is, I don't know if it'll work, because things are hard to make work out of scratch. And the reason why things like the Georgia High School Association have 400 and some schools, and all these things, they've got a lot of money and backing and support and decades, centuries of athletic events behind them and support behind them. So it's hard to make something brand new work. I've actually tried things like that in my life, so I know how hard it is. But what I'm excited about is something like the GHSA or the South Carolina High School League ends up, in my opinion, serving the careers of the people who are behind it, whether it be teachers, coaches, athletic directors, referees, any number of entities. At times, those careers and those people who lead the organization get put before the students and the athletes. It's just kind of an inevitable thing. But a thing like the Augusta United Graduate Academy starts with the young person, starts with the player. If they don't serve those families and those players, they won't last. And it's obvious with the track record of the people who are involved and the intent of the organization. It's obvious to me that they, are starting with the players, starting with the students. And I hope it succeeds for a lot of reasons. One is to give an option that somebody can take other than playing, in the traditional Georgia High School Association type atmosphere if they want that option. So we'll get into that more as time goes on. And then baseball, you mentioned baseball. I was at Westside. Westside beat Hepzibah 15-0 in 3 innings. Mercy rule. Jack Wise is a junior commit to Georgia State. He had 8 strikeouts against 9 batters. The other guy, he walked and then got thrown out at second trying to steal. So kind of a almost perfect 3 innings from him. And he also had a big double, and a lot of guys had hits and RBIs and all that kind of stuff. And so Westside put it on them. I know you went to a game as well. You'll talk about that. But the main thing I'll say about baseball is I'm excited about it because it's new for me. I got to figure out like where to stand and how to get some footage and how to share it and get people informed about what's going on the diamond. That's brand new for me. I haven't been able to be in the gyms, as you know, Charles, except for Augusta University, because it's like a hospital in there and the germs are, sanitized at all times. And, the coronavirus thing, it has kept me out of all the other gyms. And so outside's a different story. So that's one of the reasons I'm so excited about being out involved with baseball. And I found with football when I started that I really enjoyed doing that because it's something new. Basketball is kind of in my blood, but football and baseball are new and exciting for me. So I hope people, baseball players and coaches and stuff, I hope they reach out to us and tell us when they're playing, tell us who's good, tell us who we need to watch, and tell us, how to get this new sport started on the AUG B-Ball airwaves and the CSRA Sports Wrap podcast.
Yeah, I think it's really cool as well, Chad, in terms of being able to see Westside and Jack Wise. I look forward to seeing him in the future, and the other teams as well. I mean, I got a chance on yesterday to hang out with Greenbrier and Harlem at Gerald Barnes Field at Westside High School, where they had a tournament going on, and Greenbrier played a couple of games and won both of them, one in come from behind fashion. And the Bulldogs of Harlem, 7 state championships since 1974. Greenbrier, 6 titles since 1997. As we get a chance to take a look at these highlights, Saturday they met in front of a sold-out crowd for the opening weekend at Westside, and it was Harlem had jumped out in front early.
It's lifted to deep left field, playable, and he drops it. Coming in to score, Greenbrier ties it up. The 1-2, curveball low, gets away from him. Coming in, and he'll score. And Greenbrier takes their first lead of the ball game. The 1-2, opposite field, blooper. It'll drop in, and 1 run scores. 2 runs are in. Go to second base. He's safe.
Yeah, I love being at the baseball park. It was a lot of fun. Chad, the state playoffs in basketball really heat up this week. And of course, we got a complete list of the girls and boys teams that advanced into the state tournament, both the public school ranks and also the private school ranks. So stay tuned for that. But first, we've got to talk to 2 of the girls coaches that won region championships this week.
Yeah, we'll start with Ebony Fields. Who would have thought in her second year at Butler, she would take that program to be a region champion against the likes of Laney and Josie. We started off, and after that, we'll talk to Coach Kim Schlein at Cross Creek. Back to Augusta United, it's in South Augusta. There's a lot of talk there about South Augusta being the spot. Well, South Augusta is the spot for champions, boys and girls. We're going to start with Ebony Fields, and then we'll go to Kim Schlein. We started by asking Ebony Fields how it felt to earn the crown last Wednesday.
Everyone was excited. We was jumping around, hugging, and that picture, like you said, it told it all. Everyone was excited, no matter if you started the game or didn't touch the floor. Everyone, big team win, and it just felt great.
And you mentioned that it was a goal all along, and let me get your take on this. When the season started, I think most people, probably me included, thought, okay, will Laney repeat again? Can Josie knock them off? And I believe Butler had a good team. I wasn't thinking region championship. You probably could feel that people weren't putting Butler in that conversation. Did that fuel you and your players to want to prove everybody wrong? You beat Laney twice, and you beat Josie 2 out of 3 times this season.
Definitely. I use that as fuel to our fire. I would tell the girls all the time that, no one expects you to be region champs. No one expects you to be in the championship game. No one expects you to beat the Laney or the Josie. That's not what is expected. They expect you to finish third, like last year. No matter what we have, we did lose some starters last year, and so, people factor that in into that we was gonna be about the same team. And so, when we did beat Laney the first time, and, a lot of talk was, oh, it was just they won that game. It won't happen again. And so, I would tell them that, people don't think you're gonna win again. People didn't think you were gonna win that game. And when we beat Josie, the same thing. And Josie did get us again. But I told them that, that we got too comfortable and that they had to learn from it. And I would rather learn it then than to learn it later. So they did buy into that. And, just the comment, I would tell them all the comments I got when we won. It's like everybody was shocked, and they didn't like it. And I'm glad they didn't. And I used that, and it fueled them to go harder. We've been since day one when I came in, we've been really working hard, pushing the girls. When I came in, I watched a few practices before I actually took over. Coach Tracy was handling summer workouts my first year coming in, and so I just watched the players because I had been out of the scene for about a year, and I saw all the potential that they had. So with seeing their potential, we knew that we had to push them, we had to work them. And my thing coming in was to kind of try to change the culture of Butler basketball. The girls haven't really been known for, winning a lot. And so that was my main goal, to change the culture here, work hard and win games. And their dedication in the summer and the off season, and now it's just took a step up, and it's made us a lot better.
You mentioned Coach Tracy Flowers running practices when you first came in. You have a long relationship with her. She was in place before you got there. She went to school at Butler. You went to Laney. But whether it be professional basketball, childhood basketball, describe your relationship with Coach Tracy Flowers.
Me and Coach Tracy have been friends since kids. We played AAU together at around 9 or 10. So we've been around each other for so long. I trust Tracy completely. Whether we're playing together, coaching together, her opinion, her work ethic, everything is just great, and we just have a great relationship, and it works for us.
I thought about you and Tracy, I thought about the possession, the first bucket of the game against Josie in the region championship game, when Brianna Sims caught the ball, showed really good footwork, avoided the travel, drove left, and drew the defense and hit Jayla Thomas for a layup. And I kind of, for some reason, I associated that with Georgia Soul a few years ago, and Ebony Fields, maybe drawing the defense and hitting, her post player Tracy Flowers for a bucket.
We have to work on individuals a lot. Individual skill is a big part of, the game. We can't go away from individual skills. We can't just work on it in the summer and just come do all team things when we practice. So we split guards and posts a lot, very often, and Tracy, yes, is in charge of the post players. So she shows them how to post up, the moves to make, how to cut when a guard does drive. And sometimes we do use ourselves as examples of how we play together, and how your guards and your post players have to trust each other. I have to trust you're going to catch the ball for me to pass it to you. I have to trust you're going to set me a good screen where I can shoot as soon as I come off of your screen. So just trying to make them see that and develop those type of relationships on the court has helped us a lot.
So do you take the guards while Tracy takes the bigs?
Me and my brother is actually one of my assistants as well.
Oh, yeah.
So, and he trains, his business is training. So me and him will handle the guards, and then Coach Tracy and will handle the post players. We'll try to have people come in and just, kind of play defense, or, hit them with the pads and different things like that. But yeah, she's total control of the post players.
Yeah, and your brother, tell us. I've seen his business promoted on the internet and such. Tell us the name of his training business.
His training business is Chance for Hoops and Hope. So you'll see a
Yeah.
lot of C4HH. We actually wore his brand sweatshirt when we played Laney at Laney to get him a little promotion on the sideline. But yeah, that's his business. He has his own gym now, so he trains kids all over, and so I have to use him for that. He's a part of our skill development. That's his job here.
You were a star player at Laney and at Francis Marion and with the Georgia Soul. Your brother is involved with basketball with you and the Bulldogs and training. And then your mother is on the staff at Laney, which well is one of the probably the biggest dynasty of basketball that we've seen in this area. So tell us about basketball in the Fields family.
Oh, it's very competitive. Me and my brother go at it all the time about who's the better shooter. I always say I'm the teacher, he's the student, so I always be the better shooter. With my mom, it's always good competitive fun when we play against each other. We'll talk trash to each other before the game, and whoever gets that win has that hand up. So being us winning the region, I have a little more leeway this year to talk a little more trash. I talked a little trash last year and we lost, but this year I had to back it up. I had to back up the trash talking, and the girls poured it out, so it's been great.
The CSRA Sports Wrap podcast continues now with a very talented veteran coach at Cross Creek as they wrapped up the championship on Saturday night over a very tough, very game Morgan County squad. Kim Schlein joins us right now. Coach, first of all, congratulations on another region championship. How good did that feel to see your ladies put on quite a show?
Oh, it was wonderful last night, and I thought we played well because I thought we may have come out flat the night before, so I was extremely happy.
You had the great fan support to get things off to a good start, and as you said, your team kind of rolled out really quickly. They got some scoring going from all the usual suspects, and then with Jordan Dorsey and Michaela Bogans doing what they do, it was great to probably have the outstanding outside shooting that you got in the game as well.
That's right. Aaron stepped up last night, Aaron Martin, and had some nice threes for us, and everybody contributed. That's what made it so special. It was a full team effort last night.
Well, I got to ask you, obviously you've got a great team, a team that's going to make a long run. We hope in the upcoming state playoffs, and you guys are, preparing for hopefully a couple of nice home wins
Right.
to start things off. But go back to your 17 team or go back to some of your other teams. How does this team compare to those squads?
Oh, wow. I think guard-wise, we're stronger, as far as those teams, but 17 might have had a little bit better post play, but
yes,
with Elena Davis. But we've just been fortunate enough when one is down, the other comes up, because it's just been you don't get big post players like Elena, like I had then all the time. So, I'm just happy right now that we're trying to come together at the right time and start stepping our game up.
Well, Jenna Wilbon is one that you do count on inside, and some of your reserves as well. You've got another long big out there as well with colorful hair.
That's right, Josiah Holmes.
Yes. So talk a little bit about them and what they bring to the table for your team.
Jenna's a junior and Josiah's a sophomore. And right now they're, like I said, they're stepping up at the right time and just getting really tough in the post. And hopefully, the further we go, they're going to keep stepping up their game. And hopefully, we'll just hold down this post play. But they've both improved tremendously over the last year and have really stepped up their game offensively and defensively.
Kim Schlein joins us, the head coach of Cross Creek, on the Sports Wrap podcast with the Mac Daddy and Chad Cook. Coach, I think in terms of chemistry, and it's always difficult to find chemistry. You can't manufacture it. It has to be kind of comes together just naturally. And your point guard, Michaela Bogans comes in as a freshman, and she's got instant chemistry, at least it appears, with Jordan Dorsey.
And that was probably the nicest thing about this group is when Michaela came in, it did free Jordan up off the ball. And the way they're running the floor and, like you said, feeding off each other, it's a nice surprise to see that, because I wasn't sure how Michaela was going to come into the picture. but it's actually she fit right in right off the bat, and things have been rolling since.
But Coach, people talk about offense, and they love the three balls, and they love the outstanding plays like Jordan's able to provide, Michaela's able to provide, and Aaron's able to provide from deep. But defense wins championships, and you guys were able to shut down Morgan County, one of those teams that perennial has been a team that makes a deep run each and every year.
Right. Well, that was one thing we were preaching is defensively, you got to crash the boards and you got to control the ball when you have it. And that's been our motto all year: run the floor, crash the boards, control the ball. And, defense is a big thing that we produce a lot of offense off of with our quick hands and stuff up front. And like I said, each game we're improving as far as I can see on the defensive end. And that's what we got to keep doing to go further in the state.
Well, obviously, you had a deep run in 17, making it to the title game. You had a chance to see what that's all about. What would it mean to you to be able to cut down the nets at the end of the season for your seniors and for yourself?
Oh, man, that would be great. I mean, you still look at the youthfulness with a sophomore and a freshman in the lineup, 2 juniors and only 1 senior. So, I have some nice freshmen that's been coming in, stepping up. And, I think what they can see now early, if we keep going further into the playoffs, that's going to help them next year and down the road as far as the experience. And, that experience is crucial that you keep having that. So I'm just excited, and I hope we can, keep focused. That's the main thing right now. Everybody stay focused and healthy, and let's just, keep pulling through this thing.
Yeah, Coach, you played everybody you can imagine during the course of the season. You guys didn't shy away from anybody. 4-time state champions. You played them in North Augusta. You played, everyone else in Richmond County. Talk a little bit about the schedule and how it will best prepare you for what you have coming over these next, hopefully, 5 games and 5 wins.
Yeah, I always like to play North Augusta, because if you can step up to that team, then your season what it will look like, essentially. So we did go down to Statesboro and got beat down there. Statesboro is a good, strong team. I don't think we were well prepared for it because we had just come off of a 10-day quarantine and had a day. So that was my bad for probably trying to go down there. But I know that we need a challenge. I know what we have to do to go further. And, every year we got cut some tournaments this year. I was going to go to Atlanta for a tournament for Christmas, and that didn't work out. So I always try to play big along the way, because at the end of the season and it's time for state, you're going to see some big teams.
Well, again, Coach, thank you so much for your time. I know, speaking of getting ready for the state playoffs, you've got your team on a shoot around right now. I'll let you get back out to it. And best of luck to you guys in the coming weeks and days, of course.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Coach Line and Coach Fields. We really appreciate you being on the show. What a great insights they gave us into not only their championships, but also their teams. And best wishes to the CSRA girls teams that qualified for the state playoffs. You are impressive throughout the year. And Chad, this is a great group of girls teams from the Peach State.
That's right. The 2 we just talked to, plus Laney and Josie, being absolute threats. Greenbrier, runner-up in their 5A region. I might be missing some. Oh, Grovetown in 6A, runner-up in their region. So, lots of capable teams. And then if you go over to South Carolina, it all starts and ends and in between with North Augusta, the 4-time defending state champion. They won their region. They won their first round playoff game yesterday, 64-18 over May River. So, I think at one point in our podcast, we said something about them being down. I wouldn't say that about North Augusta until something happens to prove it. Silver Bluff, region champion, Kaylin Glover, region player of the year. Scored 13 points yesterday in their win, 54-33 over Woodland. So they've advanced past the first round of the state tournament. And then a team like Augusta Christian, believe it or not, is a South Carolina Independent School Association team, and they won their first round playoff game over the weekend against Wilson Hall, led in part by a freshman, Kaylee Jackson, Jakiria Bonner, Alexis Perel. That team is, I think they were 5-3 in region play, so look out for them too. And then as we go over to the boys' side, we're going to start things off just like we did a second ago on the South Side with the Butler and Cross Creek girls coaches. Now we're going to talk to the Butler and Cross Creek boys coaches, because I don't know when this has happened, but because Butler and Cross Creek boys and girls swept the region tournament and region regular season championships, the South Side's where it's at, and we're going to go to Coach Body now.
I'm still in awe, actually. Like even last night when we were taking the pitch after the game, you know, people were asking me like, "Why you not smiling? Why you not happy?" And I was overjoyed, but I was just literally processing it all. You know, like, man, how do we get here? You know, because like we said earlier in that first interview, man, I was just glad we were playing. You know, because I don't think people understood the seriousness of how, they didn't understand how serious or how likely it was that we were not going to be having this conversation and not having any sports. So just for them to be able to play is amazing, let alone win games and win another title. You know, that's just been a beautiful thing.
I'm glad you brought that up. First of all, when I saw the picture, I noticed nobody was smiling either. And, you know, guys, the players these days, you know, they like to look tough. So I kind of always notice that. But you mentioned like being surprised that you're even in that situation because of the year we've had with coronavirus. Another quote from our first interview that I never published, you were on the subject of the pandemic, and you said, you know, especially with this pandemic, the old adage, play every game like it's your last game. It's sad and unfortunate to say, but we are actually living in those times right now where, you know, this literally might be your last practice. This literally might be your last game. This might be your last season. I personally try to drive that home to them. We don't have time. We don't have that luxury to go half speed or to cruise or to take a day off, because at any moment, I think all coaches know that you can get a call saying that this is over. And I try to stress that to the guys, you know, in some parts of this particular state, you know, some people have already gotten that call. So I just tell them every day. So you're making that point about, like football went on and pretty much all the games got played. Basketball came around and it was quarantine left and right. No matter what the level over at the college at Augusta University, you got guys out for a full season, 5 guys. You guys are, you know, your peers are going into quarantine. Teams are playing 15, 16 games instead of 25 or 30. Did the guys take advantage of that opportunity? They were able to get through a season. Do you feel like they cherished and really locked into that opportunity and made the most of it?
And I'm glad you brought that up, because now I can fully answer your earlier question about the changes, you know, in all the guys 1 through 11. And that's what it was, because we played 1 game in December.
Yeah.
And you know, for me, I don't consider myself a sensitive person. And most people would say, you know, he's a hard ass or whatever. But man, it was heartbreaking to come back and tell those guys, hey man, we can't go to this tournament. Man, this game canceled. And you know, it was we may have missed 10 or 12 games.
Yeah.
And just to see the frustration and the heartbreaking in their faces, you know, I was borderline depressed, you know, but they like I say, man, they took it well, and that was some more adversity that they just pushed on through with and responded well. And I was generally surprised, you know, and you know, I think it even stung worse because they got friends at other schools, and you know, it was like, man, Evans up there in the tournament in Grovetown, and Cross Creek going here, and Laney playing, and man, we can't do nothing but practice. I was like, man, I know. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
How you think I feel? So, you know, they showed a lot of maturity and a lot of character, you know, dealing with that situation, because like I say, man, it could have broke a lot of people, because and I think that grew them up a lot, and it just made them understand, like, the point, man, play every game, play every practice like it's your last.
You said, I'm just glad to be able to coach these guys. It's a pleasure to get in the gym with them every day to try to make them better players and better people. They are a great group of guys. They work extremely hard. And more important than that, I think they understand this for the first time in a long time. I have a group 1 through 12. They understand the seriousness and the importance of the game. Coach, now that you've been through a grueling regular season, a unique regular season, and a region tournament, how do you feel about the guys in their approach to the game, their commitment to each other, and their commitment to getting better?
I couldn't be more proud. You know, each one. And it's funny you read that quote, because back then it was 12. I think now it's we played the last. I don't know. I know the region tournament we only had 10, and then a few games before that it was 11. So, you know, like I say, I couldn't be more proud of them because they've been through so much on and off the court, and they allowed the situation that they had to endure to make them better, you know, and they gain wisdom and knowledge from it and understanding it. You know, I just couldn't be more proud of because to actually see them apply the things that they learned from the situation that we've gone through as a ball club sometimes it's a bit overwhelming.
Coach, I could try to guess what you mean by the situation on and off the court, the adversity that you face that has shaped your team, but I'd rather hear it from you. Tell me more about the on and off the court travails that they have overcome this season.
I use one example. I'm sure he doesn't mind. I know his parents don't mind. Well, we had a big game against Cross Creek. And, you know, of course, everyone wanted to see Richard versus Ronnie. You know, they've been playing together forever, and Rich was with us. And, you know, I got a call that morning. You know, Ronnie had done something at home. And, you know, his mother was like, look, Coach, under no circumstances is he to touch the floor. You know what I'm saying? I want him to dress. I want him to sit down. But don't put him on the floor, you know. I don't know many coaches that's going to go against mama, you know. So, you know, all I can say was, yes, ma'am, you know. And the funny thing was, it was early that morning, so I was like, well, she'll have a change of heart by game time. You know, this is like 8 o'clock. I think game time might have been 6:30 or 7. And she was like, I called. I said, you still want to do that? She was like, yep. So, you know, he didn't touch the floor that night. And the beautiful thing about it is he was never bitter about it. You know, he from that point on, he grew up a lot, you know, and he became the player that we've been able to see the last 2 games. Well, you know, he just way more focused and he takes it way more serious. And, you know, he doesn't even act like a senior now. At times he acts like a college player.
I bet you took a lot of heat, and you were asked probably, why didn't Ronnie play? How'd you handle that? And give me some more details on that kind of thing.
Oh man, you know, everyone thought it was me, you know, and
I did too, by the way.
Yeah, I almost had to have a police escort home that night, you know what I'm saying? But it wasn't my call. However, you know, I have been known to make those calls, but that was probably the first time, or at least the first time in a long time that, you know, mama stepped in and was like, nope, you know, and hey man, you know, I'm not going against mama, but yeah, you know, I think, like you said, I think the game still turned out to be pretty good, and of course we all would have liked to see those two play, but you know, I think something much bigger came out of the situation as opposed to just a win or a loss, because like I said, it grew him up, and I think it helped him a lot with the person that he's become, and you know, the player that he's become. He's really, really, really grown, and he's done a 360 or 180 or whatever they say. You know, like sometimes, you know, just listening to his conversation and watching how he moves, I really don't recognize him. So, you know, I think that was really a blessing in disguise, you know, and shout out to his mama for making that call.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Congratulations, boy. Yes, sir.
So pleased to be joined by the head coach of Cross Creek, as he is a veteran coach now 4 years, and seeing his team win another region championship. Lawrence Kelly joins us. Congratulations, Coach, on an outstanding 20-point win on your home floor against a very tough Thompson Bulldog team.
I'm glad to be here with you.
Yeah, we're happy to have you on the CSRA Sports Wrap podcast. Charles McNeil and, of course, Chad Cook is taking a little small break as he's talking with some of the other coaches that have won titles in our area. Thompson got out to an early lead. They were scoring baskets early and often, coach, as they knifed through your defense, the Razorback defense, known to be really staunch. But then you locked them down late in the first half, Thompson up, and you called a timeout. And that timeout seemed to turn the tide of the game. What did you tell your guys?
I told my guys mainly don't get rattled. I mean, we've been here before on numerous occasions, and all we had to do was slow the pace down and play cross-street basketball. That was the biggest thing.
Yeah, I noticed right after that, coach, you got onto a barrage of three-pointers knocked down. You got the ball inside to Corey Trotter. He controlled the painted area on both ends of the floor, blocking shots and also knocking down close inside baskets. And then Devin Pope does his Devin Pope things, the things he loves to do, got very athletic. And then Richard Visitation knocked down some deep threes to allow Cross Creek to cruise to another title. How significant was this championship for you in this pandemic year?
I mean, of course, the first one last year was, the first in school history for the boys program. So this one was even better because, like I said, those guys built a foundation, and we were able to sustain it this year with this group. And this group is totally different from the group last year, but they have that same hunger, that same desire to be successful.
Yeah, after the break of the halftime break, you guys came out and another barrage of threes kind of opened things up, and Thompson was chasing their tail the rest of the game. Excuse me, as you looked at your team performing, what, if any, can you compare to last year's team in the way of their chemistry and the way they play together and really feed off of one another?
Like I said earlier, I mean, the team from last year is definitely a little bit different from the team from this year. One of the biggest things is the summer. We didn't have an off-season summer like we had with that team last year due to COVID, of course. And so we missed out on that part. So the chemistry, we sit down, we develop more so during the season than how we usually do it during the summer. But this group right here, they gel, and they're gelling at the right time. They love each other. They play hard for each other. They come to compete every day at practice. And I mean, I can't ask for a better group. I definitely can't ask for a better group.
And you definitely have been leading them quite well. I think in terms of what I've seen of your team, last year you had one region loss. This year, only one region loss, although less games, less sample size due to the COVID situations. But you guys were dominant throughout your league play. You dominated, of course, obviously in the tournament, winning by 20, the championship game on Saturday night. As you look at these two teams, and obviously you had the addition of a key transfer in Richard Visitation, what has he meant to your team in terms of being an extension of yourself on the floor?
I mean, the young man, he came in from day one, and he has led. And that's the biggest thing. I mean, he came in, you would think that, I mean, he's been with us all 4 years. He works hard, one of the hardest workers that we have. But he understands that he doesn't technically have to lead by himself. I mean, we got Devin Pope, who was a veteran senior that played on that group last year. We have Corey Trotter, who's a guy that's committed to Miles College. I mean, he's played on that group last year that went to a state championship. And then we also have Josh Dorsey. So he understands coming in, okay, yeah, let me come in, let me lead, let me work hard. But he understands it doesn't have to be just about him leading. He has other guys that help him lead as well.
Yeah, let's talk about Josh Dorsey and his shooting prowess. Not only is he a shooter, but a staunch defender on the perimeter. And that, again, another one of those guys that it plays extremely hard. Just like the name would, I guess, identify, a Razorback, your guys have that intensity defensively, it seems.
Yeah, yes, sir. I mean, Josh Dorsey has been a staple for us on the defensive side of the ball. And, I mean, he also can get it going on the offensive side of the ball as well. So he has been a very big part of what we like to do defensively. He talks, he plays hard. And like I said, I mean, he's one of those guys that you don't have to ask him to, hey, man, come in every day, sit down, put forth your best effort. He comes in, he brings it every day.
Our director, Seth Wesley, talks about Devin Pope all the time, as if, he's the next big star in terms of the ability at that next level to really shine. What do you see out of him as he, obviously finishes up his senior campaign and then moves on to the next level?
Devin Pope, like I said, I mean, he can do pretty much everything. He can shoot it from outside. He can shoot it from the mid range. He's quick enough and athletic enough to get to the rim. And I mean, he can finish with layups. He can finish with dunks, lobs, whatever. I mean, he does it all for us. So he's definitely been that big factor. We was without him for a large part of the season due to an injury, of course. But, I mean, he came back, and he hasn't missed a beat since he's been back.
Well, not only that, but your bench mob coach, you were able to bring in 4 or 5 guys off the bench. You go deep into your bench, and it just shows the chemistry that the team has. Y'all don't miss a beat when the players that are supporting the starters get on the floor. They can continue to ratchet things up.
Yeah, I mean, those guys that come in, I mean, we always say we over me. Like I tell the guys, I mean, it's not about me as the coach. It's definitely not about just one player. And they trust in each other. So when you got guys that come in, whether they're playing 2 minutes, 3 minutes, or, I mean, they're playing 8 minutes, they come in, they provide that spark that we need. They play hard for the amount of time that they're playing for. And, I mean, it's a great feeling when you got your starters on the sideline cheering those guys on.
Let's take it to last year. You guys made it all the way to the final game. What did you learn in the loss to Woodward Academy, and what can you build on as you head, knowing that you have 2 home playoff games and an opportunity to move on beyond that to another state championship run?
I mean, I think the biggest thing that we learned, you go back to the season before that, we actually played Woodward in the Sweet 16. And those guys understood that we could actually not only go that far, but go farther. And now the group this year, they learned from the group last year, understanding that if we put in the right amount of work, we can be right back there this year. But of course, we take it one round at a time.
There you go. Take it one round at a time, and it begins this coming week. Coach, how excited are you to see your team out there shining and representing the CSRA as they move forward, hopefully for a long playoff run?
I'm very excited. And, of course, the guys are very excited. We celebrated the win last night, but as soon as we got to the locker room, they said, okay, Coach, hey, we're looking forward to this playoff run, and we're looking forward to the next opponent. So,
I was going to say best of luck to you guys, and we look forward to talking to you as y'all continue on the road to the Final Four.
I appreciate you having me.
It was great to hear from those 2 guys. First of all, with Coach Body, I mean, I know I have wanted to know ever since December, why didn't Ronnie Striegels play against Cross Creek? We got the story from Coach. Over the years, I've really come to admire how close he is with his players, how much he cares about his players. We talked about Dip Mitras earlier. At the high school level, Coach Body's a guy who is just totally dedicated to his players' long-term interest, and love to see that. And then going over to Cross Creek, I have to say, our producer, Seth Wesley, who's in the gyms more than anybody, he sent me a message last week. He said, this guy, Devin Pope, is a baller. And a few weeks ago, I put Richard Visitation and Corey Trotter in my top 5 for the area. And I was contemplating and putting Devin in there too. That would have been 3 guys from Cross Creek. So I kind of made myself pick 2 instead of 3, but man, that Devin Pope is a really good player too. So I wanted to make sure that got put on wax. And the Coach Kelly, I'll end before I throw it back to you, Charles. Coach Kelly, kind of like Ebony Fields, comes into Cross Creek, takes a program that has never been a big winner at all, and here they are, runner-up in 4A last year in the state, region champions, regular season region champions, and then this year they repeat that feat, and they will go, far again this year in the 3A playoffs, I predict. Great job by Lawrence Kelly. I'm glad he came to our area.
Yeah, no question about it. I got a chance to be at both of those championship games. The Butler game, of course, I called, and, with Laney and Butler playing in it, and Coach Body, he's a bulldog through and through. There's no doubt about it. And the kids have bought in. You think back to the Don Coleman team in his first opportunity to win a championship, his first year there and first full year, first season there, and seeing the success they had way back 10 years or so ago. And then fast forward to this year's squad, completely different makeup. You got a Division I player. I don't know if there's any Division I players on the squad this year, possibly. I really like Travion Perry. I like what they're doing, of course, on the perimeter. Kadar Bodie and Ronnie Striggles, how much I love him. That team is awesome. And then to be at the Cross Creek Championship with Seth and watching firsthand, the guys work inside. Corey Trotter, what he does in the painted area and blocking shots and just getting after it. Obviously on the guard side, Richard Visitacion, I loved him when he was at Butler. Got a chance to watch him mature. Talk to his dad a lot of times about his game and some of the things that I see him improving upon. He's done all of that. The ability to put the ball on the floor, lead his team. You heard Coach talk about, his leadership and what it means to the team. And then, being able to open up Josh Dorsey to play off the ball. And those things I think are going to be very key for them to make a deep run. And now that they had the experience, with the exception of Richard, to go all the way to the final game and having met the same opponent in 2 consecutive years, you would think he would come up with now a formula for success. So yes, we definitely think they'll make a deep run. But let's transition from that to the brackets on the South Carolina side and take a deeper dive.
Well, transition. I can't help while we were talking about that, a lot of Laney Butler, Cross Creek, 2A, 3A. And in my mind, I'm like, well, there's a lot of other basketball too. Why aren't we talking about that? Thoughts go on in the mind. 6A, as we covered last week, didn't have a region tournament. You weren't with me, Charles, but I ended up having a discussion with Coach Kevin Kenny about that. He called me to account. And so we really appreciate all the people who watched that and weighed in on that. And it's almost like we haven't forgotten about Evans and Grovetown, but there's a lot of action there too. So as you talk about transitioning, I want to start there. When we go to the 6A tournament, Evans will play Effingham County. Grovetown will play Brunswick. They'll host this week. That's the other region that's red hot. Greenbrier's the 3rd seed in their 5A region, and Hancock Central and Warren County will be doing battle in Single A, Hancock Central being the defending state champion. And then I'll finish with Augusta Christian winning their first round playoff game Saturday against Wilson Hall. So they're in the second round. 29 points from freshman phenom Elijah Crawford. I almost forgot his name. How could I do that? 29 points from him. Thompson's a 2 seed led by a couple freshmen, Levante Ivory and Jaquias Jones. So a lot of excitement on the boys' side. And I guess where you started on the transition was South Carolina. So I need to weigh in on that. Okay, so, it all starts in South Carolina with Aiken and RJ Felton, the senior, the East Carolina commit. They're the region champions from that 4A region. And, so after that, it's, I haven't kept up with where that 1A region is. The games are in like the single digits, how many games they've been able to play. So I don't know who made the playoffs from there and stuff, but that South Aiken number 2 and Aiken number 1 from that 4A region is kind of where things start on the South Carolina side. And man, teams are about to start dropping like flies. In a week, there'll be half the teams roughly still alive that are alive now. Right now, there are about half the teams still alive that there were when the region tournament started. And about 2 weeks from now, we'll be looking at a small handful of teams that are still alive. And if I had to list who those teams might be at that time, I'd say Cross Creek, Butler, Evans, Grovetown, hopefully Aiken, maybe Augusta Christian. It's a short list.
It certainly is. And again, all the teams, all the coaches, we appreciate you allowing us in your gyms. We want to be able to cover your team. So please, if you hear the CSRA Sports Wrap podcast or Augusta or AUG B-ball coming to town, whether it be baseball, football, basketball, hockey, whatever it might be, open up your doors because we're going to try to give you the best coverage we can. So for Chad Cook and for our entire group, please make sure you check out this podcast, whether you watch it or whether you just listen to it. Comment, like, share it. Please share it. Subscribe to the CSRA Sports Wrap podcast, wherever it's available, wherever you find your favorite podcast. And we thank all the coaches, players, administrators, alums, the fans who've told us so much how much you're enjoying the podcast thus far. The players, we got a chance to talk with Ronnie Striggles and his family after the championship game, and they were grinning from ear to ear with the coverage that we've given to the Butler Bulldogs. We want to make sure that we keep doing what you enjoy us doing, which is giving positive feedback, positive encouragement, and positive support to the youth of our community. We couldn't do it without you, and we want you to continue to do and play at your best, represent the CSRA for all that you do and everything that you do for your high schools, your colleges, your universities, whatever it might be. We want to go ahead and let you shine. Speaking of which, we got some great coverage coming up this week. So make sure you check out episode 4. It's coming up next week at this time. And for Chad and for Seth Wesley, our talented director, and for all of us associated with the program, we want to thank you for watching, and we hope to have you right back here next time. Take care, everyone.
I do my best to impersonate a reporter is what I say a lot. Coach Kenny, please respond to what I said yesterday.
Thank you, Chad. When I heard the podcast and your statement is totally false information.
13 of 23 as Lucas White continues.
That's a big-time player making a big-time play. Darren Lucas White